Hi everyone, my name's Megan and this is my creative channel. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this yet, but I decided this was the year that I was going to start making things online. Leave a like and a comment below, share with your friends. Just trying to get this channel kind of started up, hopefully soon, crossing my fingers. Yeah, let's get started. So I'm going through books I read in 2024 and, excuse me sir, DNF'd in 2024. Come here, bud. My cat is sitting right here and he knows me. Right, baby. So the first book I read this year, I do not own. I will not ever buy it. I'm glad I didn't buy it. This is a hot take, but first book I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I actually tried reading it last year and I DNF'd it because I could not stand the main characters when I can't remember the girl's name. That's how much it irritated me. But yeah, the first book I read was Happy Place. I think I ended up giving it 1 star because I did try reading it this year. I felt like the side characters took away a lot from the plot. The jumping around really confused me, and the main character was so in her head. I just found her to be really insufferable. I just didn't like her. And when she deserved better than him, I don't think his apology was worth it. And I typically am all for second chance romance. That was just not it for me at all. So yeah, that was my, that's for Happy Place. Hot take, very, very, very hot take. But yeah, those are my thoughts. The second book, which is also probably in my top 3 for the year, it's kind of tied with another one, is 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I loved this book. There's just something about a romance that likes the Southern culture that I adore, because personally, as someone who lives in the South, that's everything. And then I did research on Ashley Poston and I found out that she's from like where I live, and I'm like, she gets me. Quick synopsis is about a girl who inherits a townhouse in New York City. She works in the book industry and she finds out that her apartment sometimes goes back in time by 7 years. And she calls it the slip. And this summer, that was 7 years prior, there was a man that was living there. I think kind of neat and pretty good. Really, really touching. I think she does a very good job of like balancing the emotional side of the story as well as the plot. And I love her. I ended up buying all of her books. And I read all of them this year. So, new favorite author, Ashley Poston. Love her. Okay, this is one. I DNF'd this originally and I gave it a second chance. This year was very hit or miss for me. I'm looking at my list over here. It was not the best reading year for me. I think last year was a lot better. I read like 40 something books, which is crazy. I work full time. I don't know how I did that. How to Hate Your Neighbor by Sophie Sullivan. I kind of want to try her other books. I just don't think that the characters really worked for me. Even though they were like enemies to lovers, it felt kind of insta-lovey, and sometimes the cliches are too much. And it just felt very cliche for me. And sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. I'm a writer. I'm very picky about the writing. Her writing style just isn't to my taste. I know that this has like a 4-star rating on Goodreads or something, and personally, I don't think it's worth that. I like the concept of her being his interior designer. I think that's super fun, but it kind of felt a bit like a Hallmark Christmas movie, even though it's set in the summer. And I wasn't a huge fan of the main character's backstory just kind of being thrown in there from time to time for emotional angst. That wasn't my favorite. I just kept thinking of Britney Spears' relationship with her mom for some reason. So that's what she reminded me of. I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. It just didn't hit the way I wanted it to. It's a beautiful cover. I could talk about covers in the book industry for 1,000 years, but yeah, not my favorite book at all. The next one, it's the only thriller I read this year. I like thrillers, I just forget they exist. The House of Salt and Sorrows. This was so good because typically I have the problem of where I can predict the plot, and I think that this I predicted some plot points, but not all of them, and I appreciated that the author kept me on my toes. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. The relationships between the sisters was really sweet and fun, and you can kind of become invested in their dynamics and things like that. I haven't read the second one yet. I really want to. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.75 stars. I think there was just some pacing issues that I had, but her writing style, her prose is really good. The way she writes personalities is really well done, and they're all very distinct from each other. I just think that, you know, the pacing was a little off from time to time, but yeah, so good, so good. The next one was I Don't Own It. It's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I had that one on audiobook. I listened to it when I went to the gym. I liked it. I don't think it matched the hype that it had on Instagram / TikTok. I liked Ravi and I liked Poppy. I liked who they were. I don't like that the version that I have is the American version, knowing that the British version is a lot better. I hate that there are 2 different publications of it. I don't know where I could get the British version. I feel like I would like it a lot better. I don't know why the author thought that us Americans are too stupid to understand British culture. That's just me. But I read the book because I knew the show was coming out this year. I was very behind on the train. It was good. It was enjoyable. I predicted the plot yet again, which is really frustrating for me. I just can't enjoy thrillers because they're predictable. I'm sorry. I gave it a 3 stars just because I did like the dynamics between Ravi and Poppy. It was okay. It was okay. After that, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart. Now, I loved Caraval. I was much more of a Scarlet person. I have lots of girlfriends who are like, I love Tella, I love Jax, I love Dante. I am a Scarlet and Julian girl. I always have been. I think it's just my chronic oldest daughter personality. I will always lean towards those characters, but I started this. I really like Evangeline. I think she and I are very similar characters. I just think that with Stephanie Garber, she loses herself in the plot when she's writing, and so it just kind of feels like a mumbo jumbo plus like really random action scenes throughout. I'm waiting to read the other 2 books until the 3rd one comes out on paperback. I think it is finally out on paperback, so hopefully my goal is to finish this trilogy next year. I rated it pretty high. I gave it a 3.5. I'm very neutral when it comes to reading books. I'm very objective. I enjoyed it. I think I would read it again. I would recommend it to people if they just want they want vibes. They don't really want something that makes you think. Not in a bad way, just like an escapist way. I think this is a very good book for that. I love Stephanie Garber. I have read almost all of her books. I adore her. I think she's so wonderful and so sweet online. I just think that this isn't her strongest book. She hit her stride with Caraval and then kind of lost it when she was trying to make a new story for herself. But still very good. I love the dynamic between Evangeline and Jax. I already have predicted the plot. I'm scared I'm gonna be right. I haven't really seen spoilers for anything online, which is shocking because these are huge. I like it. I'm gonna finish it. It's the first book. I don't really know. Typically I rate the first book in a trilogy pretty low because you never know what directions it's gonna take. So yeah, 3.5 stars for this one. I'm gonna bunch the next 3 together because I read them all back to back. They're kind of my Roman Empire, so I just reread the first 3 this year. It's the Lunar Chronicles. I haven't read the 4th one yet because I don't want it to end. I love them so much. My least favorite book is Scarlet. I just don't like her and Wolf. I feel like it's low-key a furry relationship. I've always been a Crest girl at heart. I think we're very similar people. The only sci-fi I actually adore, and I know it's like a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, but I just love them. I love Marissa Meyer's writing style. She's so creative. I think they were perfect for their time when I was in high school with like the Selection series and this and the Hunger Games and the mix of dystopia and fantasy. I think it was just perfect. Overall series rating is like a 4.5. Then I have The Lost Sisters, which is a novella for The Cruel Prince. I didn't know there was a novella. I was doing research on it when I was getting back into writing my novel because her prose is kind of inspiration for me. So her, meaning Holly Black, I listened to it when I was working one day and it was like a 2.5 hour audiobook. And it's from Karen's perspective. And that's the only thing I remember. I gave it 3 stars because it's Holly Black. I'm not going to give it anything less than that. But it was just her perspective for something at some point. And I think you find out some spoilers, but I'm pretty sure you already knew from the trilogy. I don't know. I haven't reread them in like a 1.5 years, which is going to be my goal for 2025 is to reread those because I just love them. So, yeah. Next is, I didn't even bother to finish the 3rd one because I hated it. I think I have a personal vendetta against Sarah J Maas. I think her writing is sloppy, lazy. I already know that she stole the entirety of ACOTAR from a writer from the 90s. 2 stars, enough said. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have tried reading this like 4 times, and I can reread the first series. I think it's Snow and being in his head that I can't stand reading this. Because she's such a good writer and she writes him very well. You are in his head, and it's the fact that you are in Snow's head that I cannot finish this book. I know that you're supposed to sympathize with him, but I physically cannot do it. I can't. But rest in peace, Donald Sutherland. I love you. You will always be my favorite Mr. Bennett. Funny story. I loved this book. I love Emily Henry. I think this is my #1 Emily Henry book. I can't say that, that's a lie. It's number 2. Nothing will ever top Beach Read. I'm sorry. This is a close number 2. I just loved Miles and Daphne's banter and their true friendship. How they bonded, how they grew throughout the novel, how he learned to communicate, how she learned to ask for help. I think she's just such a relatable character. I love her so much. She's so well written. Emily Henry saw what went wrong with Happy Place and she corrected it in Funny Story. Yeah, that's my take on that one. So good, 5 stars. Okay, I just realized I was probably off center for all of that. Next is the first Harry Potter book. I just reread it for fall. 5 stars. It's a classic. You can't really get tired of it. Just very cozy and reminds me of middle school. Yeah, just really good. Here's a hot take. Nobody kill me, please. DNF. It felt unfinished and the character names bothered me. The plot was predictable and I don't like whatever stereotype of male love interest is popular right now. The morally gray, brooding, whatever. I don't like that. There's more to life than being emo. You can quote me on that. I'm so serious. I also have the second book. I might try it again. She reminds me too much of Sarah J Maas and I think that's my problem. Yeah. Now we're getting to like this fall. I went to Nashville and I bought this the day it came out. And if you know me, you know I love Lynn Painter. I was devastated with what she did to Liz. Liz didn't feel like Liz. It would have been a 5-star read for me if Liz had stayed a hopeless romantic. I can't talk. A hopeless romantic, because that was like the most pivotal part of her character in the first book. She made her too cynical, and like as someone who's very similar to Liz, I'm like, I felt called out. I think Wes was perfect. Wes was so him. It was the best. I love that they were, you know, in their early 20s and they're my age. The college part of the book felt very realistic. I loved it. I just don't think that Liz had matured enough to deserve Wes. And for that reason, it's a 4.5. The next book I read was The Rule Book. I read the cheat sheet in 2022. This is the sequel. I liked this better. I think the first book was too cheesy for me. It was not my favorite. I rated it 5 stars at the time, but it was right when I was getting back into reading, and so I didn't have anything to gauge what I liked and didn't like. I liked this a lot more. I think her relationship with Derek was far more realistic than what happened between Bree and Nate. I gave this one a 4 stars. I think it was just very sweet, and I love football. I'm just a football girl at heart. I just love the sport. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. And I loved the scenes when they were in Mexico. That was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. I love an accidentally married trope. Spoiler, it's on the back. Anyways, 4 stars. I love you, Sarah Adams. I pre-order every book, and I believe this one is signed. Every book I have by her is signed. That's how much I love her. Dedication. Jumping back to June. Just haven't met you yet. It's so sweet. It's so British. I don't remember the plot, honestly. But basically, it's a girl who's obsessed with finding a stranger, meets him, thinks she's in love with him, but then ends up falling for her grouchy neighbor. And who couldn't love that? And they're cows. It was just very simple. I gave it a 3.5. Pacing issues, again. But I like her writing style. I've had this on my TBR for like 3 years, 2 years. What year did it come out? Ever since it came out. 2021. Yeah, so I've had this on my TBR for 3 years, but finally read it. And I liked it. I liked it. I'll read it again. Next. I'm so excited about these. Okay, I'm gonna do this one second. I mean, that's the order I read them in, but still. So this is Ashley Poston's first book. It took place about 45 minutes away from where I live, which is so fun, so I could like picture it perfectly. It's in a fictional town, but it's based on a real town that I know. I loved the concept. It was so well done. Unfortunately, I did predict the ending, but I didn't predict the second plot twist, which is good. Better than nothing. Her writing in dialogue from time to time was a little cringe, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. But I did love the dynamic between Florence and Ben, and I like that they show up in all of the other books. She's like Emily Henry, where January and Gus are in every single book. They're mentioned in passing. She does the same thing for Ben and Florence, and I love that. I love it when authors have inside bits with their readers. And I'm like, okay, when I publish my books, I'm gonna do the same. Because same, we're all the same level of crazy. And she gets me. Please tag her in this. Someone clip this and then tag her. Because Ashley Poston, girl, you and me. You and me, girl. Indeed. Oh, I gave that a 3.5. Anyways. 5 stars. You have to read it yourself. You have to find out what happens. It's Gilmore Girls meets Groundhog Day. Do with that what you will. And cats. I don't know where Fig is, but the cat in this book is him. They're like this. Next book. I feel like I just need to put these two together because I read a book between them, but I read this over Thanksgiving. I read this in 2 days after Thanksgiving. Everyone was talking about these at the beginning of the year because the special editions came out with Iris and Roman on the covers, and I need to have my own copy of these. It's so perfect because it's literally, I keep telling everyone to read these books because I'm like, it's the perfect combination of historic fiction and fantasy. You will appease to every audience with these books. They're so good. The connection between the characters, I would say it's slow burn, but it's also very genuine because they have history already before the book starts. So in your head, there's been months of things building up beforehand. So when you actually get around to them, the depth, I have no words. When it comes to Rebecca Ross's writing, I'm just like, 5 stars. Okay. That's how I feel about these. They're so good. I give them both 5 stars. Everyone read those 2 books if you haven't done it yet. Otherwise, you're lame. Last but not least, I only have these 2 that I've read this year, but I'm rereading the Narnia books currently, 2/3 of the way through this one. I skipped The Magician's Nephew because I've read that one more than any other book in the series, and I just don't feel like doing it again. I could probably quote that book start to finish with how many times I've read it. Same with this one, actually. I can quote almost the entire book of this too, which is insane because it's like 180 pages. And I'm like, how do I know all of the dialogue? Maybe it's because I was homeschooled. It's C.S. Lewis, 5 stars. Can't complain. Horse Knows Boy. My favorite. As a fantasy girly, my favorite. Why? World building. You do not get any world building in these books. Like, they're very plot driven. Don't get me wrong. The world of Narnia is so lush. Also, his writing style, very simple, but it gets to the point. He communicates so much with so few words. How do you do that? C.S. Lewis, the man that you were. Rest in peace. Legend. Every homeschooler's hyperfixation started with this man. I just think that Narnia is such an underrated book series. I know it's not, okay? But in my opinion, it is. 5 stars every book. Maybe not The Magician's Nephew. That was 3 stars. Anyways, I've read /DNF so many books. I have 3 stacks of books with me right now. I have another stack over there. Anyways, I think that's a good enough. That's good enough. Oh my gosh. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. Here is my creative one. I write, I draw, I review books. I think I'm gonna start posting probably once a month realistically with my schedule. Comment below what videos you want to see from me, what you're interested in. I just need ideas. Happy New Year. Set goals. Anyways, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.